I'm Watch Investor Vinny and welcome back to the channel. Now today, on today's episode, what we're going to go through really is the watches that are defying the current market dip. Three pieces that for us as dealers are selling quite well. They may be going up in value. One of them in particular, a Rolex, is soaring at the moment. I've really been asked a lot of questions around this similar sort of theme as to, Vinny, which watches are selling well right now, which pieces are less risky, good for me to diversify my portfolio of watches, or if any, are any pieces going up in value? And the answer is yes, indeed there are. So here I've got a beautiful selection of timepieces, all available now at beatthewaitlist-watches.com, so go check those out. And I'm going to really start off with one piece that is defying the trend at the moment, and we are selling quite a few of, and it is this, the Omega Seamaster 300M. This particular one is a chronograph. The reason really why this is still doing so well at the moment is probably because of the price point. Now, we've got this watch advertised at Beat the Waitlist for £2,500, so it is well within the realm of affordability for many. This particular model dates from around 2010, and it's really lost all of the value that it's going to lose, and year on year we are seeing that it is increasing slightly, around about 5 to 10% in value. So it's a safe bet. It's a safe bet to put your money into, and it's one hell of a beautiful watch. Of course, it's a watch with massive pedigree as well. The Omega Seamaster 300M first really broke onto the scene in the James Bond film saga with Pierce Brosnan in Dying of a Day. He wore the 40mm non-chronograph version, which was very similar to this. It is a diver's watch, so it's water resistant to 300 meters, hence the name. This does come in at 42mm, this particular size. If that is a little bit too big for your wrist, then we've also got another one in a smaller, more classic size, which is the 36.25mm example. Pretty much the same watch. It isn't a chronograph, it's just a time and date only movement. This is also a coaxial from around about the same era. A beautiful piece crafted by a great watchmaker, an Omega, with a bulletproof movement as well that should really last a lifetime in that one. So moving on to the next category of watches that are really selling very well for us over the last few months, and it is Cartier. Now, Cartier really have grown in popularity over the last 2 years, but we've seen that the Cartier Santos in particular is a watch that has really flown off the shelves since it was launched. I think back in as early as 2017, this particular piece, this revised Cartier Santos. It's a classic because it's probably got one of the most enviable claims of any sports watch in the industry, and that really is the very first men's wristwatch to be strapped to a wrist, or the very first men's timepiece to be strapped to a wrist back in 1911. Now the story goes that a certain Alberto Santos Dumont, a friend of Mr. Louis Cartier, requested a watch that he could look at while he was flying a plane, and had both of his hands on the wheel to operate his aircraft. So it was Mr. Louis Cartier that devised the invention at the time of the first ever men's wristwatch. So this particular design hasn't really changed that much since 1911, with the opaline dial and the painted Roman numeral markers there. Heat blued hands as well, those aren't painted blue. And at the time, of course, it was strapped to a leather strap. Now what we've got is this beautiful integrated bracelet with the classic Cartier screws there featuring around the bracelet, and the Cartier signature there on the double deployment clasp. Another reason why this is doing really well is because, not just because of that history and pedigree, but because of that integrated bracelet. So it's very similar. It sort of taps into that trend that we've seen over the last few years, spearheaded by the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and Patek Phillipe Nautilus, which of course are tanking in value at the moment. This one really gives you that similar, same sort of vibe with an in-house Cartier movement as well. Really, when we talk about adding a watch to your collection to diversify it, this is one of those pieces. If you've got an investment portfolio and you want to have a mixed bag of brands, you've got to have Cartier in there. Of course, there's Rolex, AP, but around about the £5,000 price mark, this is a great bet. And why is it a great bet? Because also in times like what we're experiencing at the moment with the general watch market dip, this is a more liquid asset. So what we mean by that is you would be able to get shot of this and sell it more easily on Chrono24 and on eBay than a timepiece, a fine timepiece that's over the 10, 15, 20,000 pound mark at the moment. With good photographs, a good description, you can sell within a week or two on eBay and not really lose anything. So what we mean by diversifying your portfolio, this is great for that, but also it has great liquidity as well. So guys, the third and final watch that I want to talk about is the Rolex Datejust two-tone rose gold with chocolate dial and fluted bezel. This one has grown slightly. So a month or two ago, this was trading on the secondary market around about 12,500, 13,000. I've actually seen these go in the last week or two for 14 to 14 and a half, 15 to 16 with the diamond plots. Why is that? Why is it that the rest of the Rolex market is cooling off and buyers are really holding back for pieces, gold pieces as well, pieces over 15, 20,000 pounds, giving them time to sort of settle and cool in value? Why is it that this one is actually bucking that trend? Now, I've got a few ideas as to why. We experienced really since the start of the year a trend that moved towards rose gold pieces. Rose gold was very hot with the olive day date. That was followed by the GMT Master 2 root beer, and it set a trend. The Yachtmaster chocolate dial two-tone rose gold piece, 40mm, even 37mm examples were selling really well, but all of those were over the £15,000 mark. The root beer two-tone went right the way up to 24, 25,000. The solid gold piece over the 45, £50,000 mark, and obviously you all know where the day date was. So what this really is an example of a similar sort of style and trend and vibe with the chocolate dial, but at a much more reasonable price, at 13, 14,000 pounds. This is a watch that at the moment is less risky. So that's probably why it's still doing well. It's probably why clients are still choosing this over a Rolex piece that's over the 20k mark, and still pacifying that sort of hunger for rose gold and chocolate dials. But for this one, I think that's great value for money, and so does the market, because it's increasing slightly in value and it's selling well. So thanks guys for joining me, Watch Investor Vinny, while I take a break from the workday with an espresso to really fill you in on watches that are doing quite well at the moment and defying that market trend. I'll be back again next week. In the meantime, check out beatthewaitlist-watches.com for all of those pieces that you just saw there. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, all of that, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.